The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff and management of WWDB-TV.
Y'all ready for this?
Booyah! We are back, and a happy new year to all you followers of Southern Nevada Sports News, coming to you from WWDBTV.com. And we are glad to be back in the saddle. Happy 2019. My name is Bill Miller, co-host along with
Jeff Belknap. And
as usual, and based on the disclaimer you heard, it is our opinion truly, and that's the one that counts.
It's the only one that matters.
Especially for this hour. Of course, John Stiles, we'd like to thank him for once again keeping the doors open and being the head engineer. Thank you so much, John. And it has been an exciting week in sports.
Yes,
yeah.
big time.
We wrapped up the NFL season. We now know who some of the players are, at least for this coming up on Saturday. And then we'll dispense with four teams.
Yep.
And then we'll have a better idea as the season progresses. We now know who's going to be in the national championship game for college. And we also now know, as usual, that we need 8 teams in the playoffs. So, you know.
Well, I don't know, because if there was 8 teams, then Michigan would have been there, and they got smashed. UCF would have been there. They got smashed.
No, they didn't get smashed.
Well, I mean.
No, UCF didn't get smashed.
But the thing is, they would have played a better team than LSU.
Or better than Notre Dame.
Or Notre Dame. Well, Notre Dame played Clemson. We all know that I've said all the course of this year that Clemson's the best team in college. So.
Hey, listen, you get there, you're undefeated, you got to do better than they did.
Yeah.
You know.
I wasn't surprised.
You know, and in Georgia's defense at the time, they were the best team to be in, you know.
Well, when you're undefeated and you're Notre Dame, you're going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's just the way that it is.
Yeah. You know, you being Notre Dame and be 2 losses, somehow they're going to they'll certainly get you into the top 10.
Yeah.
All right, you know. 4 losses, you're at least guaranteed top 25 at Notre Dame.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, they own the whole network.
And
right?
if you're 500, you're in the top 50. And guaranteed bowl eligible.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm not a Notre Dame hater, but I just had to throw that out there. However, as you can tell, you're not. This is not an illusion. There is a third party in our studio. It's not just Jeff and I. So I'd like to very much introduce you to Ron Perry. He's a financial representative with Westpac Wealth Partners.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me.
Appreciate it. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Yeah. And, you know, from time to time, you know, if you're certainly a follower of the show, and we hope you are, you know, we introduce different topics, not always sports related. However, we do know, talking to him before the show, he's a sports man.
That's right.
So we, when we put the questions to him, and you know what those are, I'm not going to tell him just yet. When we put the questions to him near the end of the show, you know, he's equipped to answer.
That's right.
Yeah, because some people are just straight football
Especially
haters.
the basketball guys.
Oh,
they
come in. Oh my God!
They're like football. Like there's no football. It really doesn't exist.
Yeah,
I mean, they're just all basketball.
A couple of these guys just, you know, they just didn't care. I mean, you know, look, I play basketball. That's it.
That's right.
Yeah, but Ron, thank you very much for coming in. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so let's just get right to it. You know, how about explaining to us Westpac Wealth Partners and your position with them?
Well, Westpac Wealth Partners is a mutual financial institution. We are full financial services. We take care of everything that has to do with your wealth, your legacy, preserving it, taking care of you from the beginning to the end, depending on who we're speaking to, what level of life you're in. We absolutely can help you, you know, and we'll definitely sit down with you and have conversations and get in detail to find out who you are, not just as a person, but on paper as well.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. And your position with
I'm
Westpac?
a financial representative, so I sit down and I meet people. I'm in the people business.
Okay.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm looking at the title is Westpac Wealth Partners: Protect, Invest, and Achieve.
Absolutely.
So you're basically creating a plan.
Yes.
So
Yes.
tell me, like, let's just kind of give a walkthrough for the people that have never done this. Maybe this is a good example
Right.
for somebody. I walk in, I've never invested any money before. I have a job, but like I'm struggling paying my bills.
Right.
But I do want to invest, and I do see the need for this.
Right.
Where do we start?
Well, we have a philosophy that we go by. We have a couple of different tools that we use as well. That, again, it doesn't really matter what level you're on. We can absolutely speak to that person for wherever you are. So a person such as, knowing that there's a need, we get to it. The first part that we do is we want to make sure that we protect you. If we don't have any protection on you, then we can't really take care of anything else that you have. Anything else that you do, your most important asset is you.
Yep.
So if we don't have that protection first, then there's a little bit of a question about, are we really willing to do this? And then after that, now we get into organization. We need to make sure that you're organized on paper. If it's everywhere, okay, it's a little bit more work.
Yeah.
Right. But if you have some things in plan, it's really nice when you have a husband and wife, because usually one of those two are in, at least if it's not on paper, at least in their mind, they have some sort of organization, which way they go.
Rent's due on the 1st, power bill's due on the 7th.
Right. So that's the second thing. The next one is we want to make sure that you're a world-class saver. So we want to be able to show you the steps that we take to become a world-class saver. And next is we want to make sure that you have liquidity. A lot of people make the mistake of not understanding what it really means to have cash available. So that's that emergency fund, or just in case.
Yeah.
So those things are really important when you have that. So being able to be liquid, I'll give you a quick example is if you have cash on hand, that's liquidity. If you have your cash in a credit card, that's not liquid. That's somebody else's money.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we have an understanding.
But
that
it's
we go
okay to
through-
have credit, though.
It's
have that
absolutely okay.
available.
It's absolutely okay to have credit. It's absolutely okay. And the next part is debt. Most of the time, when you speak to people, the first thing that they do is they want to be in a rush to get out of debt. It's not necessarily that all debt is bad debt and that you have to pay for that debt. If you are trying to hurry up to get out of debt and something happens to you, the next thing that happens is, where's that money coming from? It's coming from somewhere else, and you pull that, then it becomes a vicious cycle.
Right.
A lot of us are in that space.
So what you're suggesting in abstract, what I just pulled out of it, it's better to save some money and have that aside than actually pay down your debt and not necessarily have that money.
Yes. Basically, let's have a plan.
Right.
Let's have a plan. Not the plan. Once you get out of debt, then what? What happens?
Okay.
Right. We want to make sure that we
Go
have.
buy something.
Yes, that's
Isn't that the American way right there?
that is the American way.
Since banks aren't exactly, offering people just grand theft, interest rates.
No. No.
Throwing it into a savings account next to your checking account is not
Right.
exactly.
And you do have people
That's
who.
not. I don't consider that wealth management.
No, that's called old school mentality.
Yeah.
Old school mentality says make sure that you keep all of your money or just put it in the bank. Most people don't really know what the options are and which ways you can help
Right.
and diversify. So it just becomes a conversation. It's an education tool that we give, and it's free. A conversation is free,
That's beautiful.
right? So we just
all
want to
that.
make sure that we want to educate.
Yeah. Now, Jeff gave you a scenario in terms of one person is approaching you. What other makes an ideal client for Westpac?
And for our business, we tend to deal with doctors, athletes, lawyers. That's our niche area.
Okay.
But honestly, the person if you're a business owner, if you have something that you're looking to take care of, we can have that conversation. So really, everybody is a client.
Good.
So the people, when we find out the population and there's more people that grow, the more that we go, yes, let's go, because there's more people to speak to.
Right. Well, I was a finance major, UNLV. So I learned a lot of this stuff at a young age.
Right.
But I didn't manage it correctly.
Right.
Basically what I did is I saved a whole bunch of money, and when I had an opportunity to buy a business, I used that money to buy the business,
Right.
thinking I was just going to develop into this
Right.
like multi-millionaire. Or
Right.
whatever. It didn't happen.
Right.
I had a couple things that were kind of traumatizing that set me backwards. Getting back on track has been a difficult thing for me. So when you're talking to people, obviously you're meeting them at different stages of their life.
Yes.
If you, in your opinion, when should people start this type of business?
Oh, the sooner the better. Honestly, I can speak personally for myself. My kids I have 4 children. My oldest is 23, my youngest is 11. So I have 2 boys, 2 girls. And as early as you can, as a parent, you want to be able to instill those tools into them early to let them understand what it is. So when they first start working, what it looks like to save. If you understand, if you probably heard the 80-20 rule, right? I personally, my own opinion, I like 70-10-10 because you live off of 70%, you save 10, you invest 10. That's me personally. And then I go to church as well, so I believe in tithing, right? So this is what we speak to when we're talking to our children. So I don't always speak to everyone that way. I speak to my family that way.
Yeah.
But when you look at how much money you need to be able to save, if everyone saved at any time, at least 20% of their income, it's a good thing over time. So when you get to a place where, you want to begin, that's a conversation that we have.
So what is that? The Richest Man in Babylon? Is that the book?
No.
That was actually one of the first ones I read, which actually showed me. I'm like, wait a second here, because the principles are there.
Yes.
The principles and the structure is there.
Yes.
It's not the ideal, saving book, but the principle. It kind of taught me hey, wait a second here, just watching how somebody else did it.
And I think that's how you learn, though, right?
Yeah.
When you will learn that way by watching somebody else do it. I don't know if I think it's any restrictions on when you start watching somebody else do it.
Right.
I think it's a great thing. As long as you begin today, the next moment, the next minute, the next hour, you can start it right then. You just have to be equipped with the education. And that's where we come in at. We want to make sure that we educate you and give you the right information. Because if you don't have the right information, I'm not saying that your venture wasn't the right venture, but if you had...
No, it wasn't. No, I'll tell you that. I mean, you don't have to tell me that. I'll tell you
Right.
that.
I don't know what it was.
No,
But-
what I did was I went from making a lot of money and managing someone's business to... I had a misconception that running a business was like owning a business.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I stepped out of the boat until I realized, wait a second, this is different. I have to make sure that all my employees eat first, and
Right.
then I'll eat what's left.
Right.
And I was on the other side of that. I was the one that got my check first.
Right.
So it was a difficult task, but I don't regret it in a sense. But going back, rewinding, I would have never done it.
Right.
It was a risk that wasn't scheduled. It wasn't planned.
Right.
I just felt like it, and I was like, I'm going to do it, and I just jumped out and did it.
Right.
And thought it was going to be a lot easier than it was, and 20 years later.
Right.
You know.
And a lot of times what we don't have is someone who's actually holding you accountable.
Right.
Right. If we're not, I think that just goes in life in general.
Yeah. That's right.
Right. If somebody's not holding you accountable to what it is that you're doing financially, talking finances is one of the hardest things to talk about with people because it's something that they hold close to the vest. If you can have a relationship and trust, and it takes some time.
Yeah.
So it's not something that you just jump into and you just do right away. You have to understand who I am. You have to know who I am. You have to trust that the company that we work for, that whoever it might be, it doesn't have to be me, but whoever that person is that's handling anything that has to do with protecting you, it's a very important space.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why when people are sitting in the service and the pastor gets up there and starts talking about tithing, like probably 85 to 90% of the people have completely checked out at that point.
Yeah. Because
then they get they just want our money and they just want, But really what they're ultimately trying to do is like teach like a method, and we both know because we're believers, all three of us are believers. We know that God can give us a lot more with the 90% than the 100%. But that's a trust thing. So how do you get people to? What's your combo to build that trust? I guess
that's a great question. It's really I am an integrous person. Now you don't know that walking in the door,
Right.
But you did open the door, right? Now, whether a person is a believer or not, I do. So I understand that that's an opportunity for me. If we're looking at it in a believer's mentality, nothing that doesn't happen by accident.
That's right.
Right. So if I'm walking in the door, it is now at that point my job to spread that gospel. Right. This is what I'm commissioned to do.
Yeah.
Right. I do this not just because it's a job. I actually love what I do.
Oh, of course.
So loving what I do, I have no problem speaking about what I do. I have no problem sharing what I do. Again, a conversation costs you nothing but time.
Yeah.
That's it. So as I'm speaking, if my job is really to educate, then I'm okay with being able to share and give that information. The best thing they could do is get better from it.
That's right.
So now, if that's where I'm standing on my own integrity, the next thing you know, they make the choice. And I have every client, I'll let them know, just because we're sitting down and we're having this conversation does not mean that you have to do business with me. Education, you can take it and go somewhere else. I would hope that you can get what you need from here and then take it and then use it. If you use me, perfectly fine. I'm all for that, right? But if it's not, I still did my job.
Yeah.
And I'm still doing, I'll be okay with that.
I love it.
Yep.
All right. So how did you get involved in financial management?
Well, I had my mom, she wound up having a stroke. And this was almost 5 years ago. That was the first time anything serious has happened directly to me and my sister. It's just me, myself, and my sister. So she had a stroke. I'm in the hospital and I'm speaking to my sister, and I looked at her. I said, "What happens if something happens? Like we don't know." And I'm older than my sister too, by 7 years. And she looked at me, and she couldn't give me the answer. So the first thing I did was, myself and my wife, we went and got life insurance. And then we start sitting down and we start getting very serious about what happens if something happens. Nobody's ever had the conversation with me. Nobody's having a conversation with my mother. So my mother never gave me the conversation.
Right.
So this was a God thing for me. The job that I was at the time, I was very frustrated at that job, and I quit. Okay. So at this time, my mom had the stroke, and then a friend of mine called me and said, "Hey, I'm doing this business." This was at New York Life at the time. She was at New York Life at this time. She called me and she said, "Hey, I'm doing this life insurance. Do you want some?" I was like, "Listen, it's pretty hectic for me because I was doing everything with my mom, all of the care and afterwards and stuff like that."
Yeah.
And when she was being very persistent, which was a good thing. It got a little too much, but it was okay.
I know exactly what you're
It
saying.
was a little too much, but it was okay. And she said, "Listen, I really want to be able to have this conversation." And I was in between two appointments for my mother. I said, "Listen, let me grab my wife. I can come down right now." And we sat down and we had the conversation, signed up for life insurance. And then she said, "Are you working right now?" I said, "No." And she said, "Well, what do you want to do?" I said, "Well, I definitely don't want to do this because I've never worked commission before, and I'm not a salesperson. I can't stress that part enough. If you want water, please don't ask me what brand of water. Just drink the water."
All right.
Right? And when she asked me what that looked like, and I said, I'll listen. I listened. I kept listening. Next thing you know, I start taking some tests. Next thing you know, I start meeting some people. Next thing you know, I'm doing this thing. And that's how I got into it. And my passion at that time was, I know a lot of people that don't know anything, just like I did.
Right.
I know a lot of people who have nothing to take care of, just like I did. And that just started from there, and it just grew. It just grew into, wow, this is a place where, I'm very thankful for this. I found what my gift is. My gift is people.
Yeah.
And I've seen that this is where I belong. This is why I know I love my job. I've never said that before. But this is how I wound up getting into this, because it just started from my own personal experience.
That's awesome. I love that because you're right in saying that most people don't know, and most people don't have those conversations. And honestly, like a similar situation as yours, it wasn't until my mom,
Right.
had her second heart attack,
Right.
where me and my sister were like, wait a second, like what we need to get this stuff in order.
Right.
You know, so we just sat down, did some simple stuff, you know, and it's still not super complex. We just basically did the basics.
Right.
You know, made a skip burial plan, made sure the will was all in order, made sure
Right.
everything was good. But there's so much more. I mean,
Yes,
that's only one side of it. The investment side of it,
Yes, it is.
good. So I know we got a few more minutes to talk about this, and we want to get down to
Okay.
some sports. But if somebody is looking to get into on the investment side, and you know, obviously the stock market's at a literally teetering on an all-time high all the time. How do you protect money when it's like really in a volatile state like it is right now, the stock market?
Well, I'll start right back off from the very beginning. You have to understand what layer of protection we're talking about. So because the stock market is volatile, as everybody can see, we want to make sure that there's some stability. So before we even get into that conversation, we want to make sure that you have something that's stable. And we start from there. So that's the bottom line right there. So then we'll grow into understanding what it is that what it looks like, and how to invest, and where to invest, and when to invest, and if it's right at your age group, and your age range, and those kind of things. But before you even get there, we have to make sure that there is a foundation before you move.
Right.
So it'll always come up. That'll always be the conversation first.
Okay. So you basically make sure that everybody, if the stock market crashes, that they still have
Yes.
their stuff.
Now, what year was this? 08?
Yeah.
08. There was a lot of it was hectic for a lot of people.
You don't need to tell me.
Right.
I can tell you some stories.
Right.
As a matter of fact.
It was very hectic for people. And I'll tell you this, the people who were able to have these type of conversations first and understand what this was and what was going on with somebody who was allowed to educate them. They took their time to understand what this was and had trust in the person that they were dealing with, that knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
They were kind of calm. It wasn't that many people, because a lot of people who want to try to invest quickly or fast or whatever that looks like for them. We want to make sure that we have some stability and some protection for those things too.
Yeah.
So you can't protect every single thing when it's unpredictable in the market.
No, but you can minimize your losses.
You can. Yes, you can.
And understand that, there's a ebb and flow, particularly in financial markets. That particularly, unfortunately, the real estate market also tanked too.
Yes.
So the backup plan for a number of people, which was real estate,
Yes.
first of all, how can people reach you?
Well, you can reach me. It's funny. I'm from New York City.
I noticed by your cell phone prefix.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just
Wait, not by the accent, but the
yes, the cell
I went
phone.
with the 516. I'm going, okay.
Right. So I have not changed that number. I have so many friends and family that's back home, and it'd be a hassle to change the number. So, but my number is area code 516-603-0030. And you can also reach me at email, ron.perry@wealth Westpac Wealth Partners. Excuse that.
WestpacWealthPartners.com.
Yes, we changed that a little bit.
Yeah.
WestpacWealthPartners.com. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Ron Perry. I'll come up.
So it's Perry, Perry.
RRY. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. And as far as Westpac Wealth Partners, how long have they been in business now?
Westpac has been in business over 150 years.
Oh, wow.
It's well established. It is one of the top four major mutual companies. And it's a great company.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the fact that they deal with entrepreneurs and business professionals, executives,
Yes.
Dentists, doctors, all that,
Yep.
and professional athletes.
Yep.
That should give you a little sign that these are people that have more than likely have done some work, and a lot of your stuff comes from referral, I'm assuming.
Yes. We have a great team. I mean, my manager partner, his name is Travis, right? He born and raised here. He knows so many people. It's just ridiculous. If I go and meet somebody and they go, "Oh, Westpac? Oh, that's Travis. Oh, that's someone else." So it helps that we have people that are entrenched in Vegas and entrenched in this business that they know, Vegas, and they know the people. So yes, name flow, it helps. I'm not a name thrower, but I've learned to use my voices.
So you probably should be throwing around Benny Perez, man, because that guy's name travels.
Listen, the church realm it's a difficult place to walk into.
Yeah.
Because you have people who take advantage, unfortunately. So the institution of church, not just the pastor, the institution of church is a little protective of that. And I understand that.
And rightfully so.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, they have to be.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, affinity crimes, unfortunately,
Oh, man.
are notorious. So,
Man.
Okay,
Yes.
so it's towards the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
We've been asking this question for, 5 or 6 months.
oh yeah,
And luckily for me, my teams are still available since the beginning of the year.
Okay.
But we always ask our guests, who do you think would be the AFC team, the NFC team representing the Super Bowl, and who do you think would win?
It's very difficult to go against the Patriots. It just is. Kansas City looks really good, but I can't put all my eggs in Patrick Mahomes. I like the kid though. I
Yeah.
think he's really good, but I'm going to go with. I don't like saying it, but it's going to be. I believe it's New England.
All right.
And then for the
That's
NFC,
very common, by the way.
how could you go against it?
yeah.
For the NFC, it's difficult to go against Drew Brees right now.
It's a very competitive NFC.
It is very competitive. Very competitive. I'm actually really looking forward to this season in playoffs because I do believe the top 4 teams on both sides can actually win. The Rams, I think, peaked very early, and then they kind of coming down a little bit to normal right now. But they are dangerous, though.
Oh yeah.
They're very dangerous. I'm going to say the Rams because I do think the Rams have a really good team.
Okay, so oddly enough, those were my exact teams in the
Really?
beginning of the season.
And to win it all.
Okay, I'm a Denver Bronco fan. I don't want to say. I'm not going to say New England. I already gave you who I had to give.
Well, they've been in 9 Super Bowls. So.
They don't remind everybody.
Yeah.
I'm going to say let's pick something different. I'm going to say the Rams will win.
Oh, no.
Rams.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
going to say the
My pick, too.
Rams.
That's exactly
Yeah,
what
I'm going to say the
Well, I'm
Rams.
an LA homeboy, so
That works for you.
The Rams are back,
Right.
Because I cut them loose as soon as they left town.
You did.
Oh God, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they had to go. And I sort of became a Buccaneer fan because nobody loved them or those hideous creamsicle jerseys.
Oh, they
being a
were
Lions
bad.
fan, they were
So
the-
back then, nobody could they could never say that I jumped on the bandwagon.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we
Right.
have some updated odds. We'll go through these really quick, and then we gotta wrap it up. But I'm looking at the bottom of these odds. They have this is as of the 30th.
Okay.
So it was a couple of days ago. Philadelphia 80-1.
Can I tell you something though? There's 2 teams that I'm scared of on both sides. Philly is one, and Baltimore is another. I don't think Baltimore can win, but Philly can. If Nick Foles is healthy, because he just hurt his ribs.
Yeah.
But I think they operate better with him as a starting
I absolutely
quarterback.
agree with that.
They are dangerous. They are dangerous.
So 80-1. Then we have the Colts, who have won 8 of the last 9.
Yeah.
Or was it 8 of the last 9 or 9 of the last 10?
think
One
9
of
of
those
Yeah.
two. 30-1. That to me is like literally the hottest team in football, and you're going to give them 30-1.
They're not going to win though. They're not good enough to
Okay,
win.
they got no shot.
No,
Okay.
no.
They'll beat Houston, but next round.
Yeah, they're not going to win.
But
So
they're going to beat Houston.
Tennessee's 25-1, so they're not really giving either one of those teams playing each other. They have the Chargers at 18-1, and that's obviously who Baltimore is playing. And I think that's going to be a really interesting because I like Lamar Jackson. I've always liked him. I liked him
Right.
when he played at Louisville.
Right.
We have always kind of made fun of the NFL executive that said he could never play.
Yep.
And now he's actually
Yep.
taking his team to the playoffs, which I love.
Yep.
Because that basically tells you like these guys are professionals and they know the sport and they know all this, but like they don't know the heart of a player. And when Lamar Jackson got that ball in his hand, he knew that he was going to make something happen to a point where I don't think Flacco's even going to be there next year. I think
so
that
either.
Baltimore might want to get rid of that money and send him somewhere else.
Well, I think they'd be hard pressed not to.
Yeah.
but the Chargers play much better on the
They
road.
are,
They're
yes.
really
than they
good.
The
certainly
Chargers
do
are a
at home.
good team.
And this is, for Phillip Rivers, this may be it.
It's the dream team.
And
What he's always been
this
waiting
is
for.
about as good as it's gotten.
Yep.
And I think that they're going to knock off Baltimore.
Yeah, I believe so.
The Browns almost took care of that last Sunday.
Yeah.
That's
I
a
was really-
division game, though.
I was so
I
pulling
was
for the Browns.
really rooting for,
The Browns.
but in the same respect, like I have a bunch of annoying Pittsburgh fans, my friends, and I was like kind of glad that he didn't do it. But I'll tell you what, Baker Mayfield has really impressed me as a rookie. I mean, he's definitely the rookie of the year in my opinion.
You think so?
I think so.
You think he's
offensive?
offensive? You think he's better than Sam Darnold?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really?
God, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. And he will be. I mean, think about it. They were a team that was, on the pivot of being a 500 team.
Mm-hmm.
The Jets are horrible, and I actually said that in the beginning of the year. Remember, I said at the end of the year, this was after they beat the Lions. I said the Jets will be one of the worst teams in the NFL.
And they are.
Yeah.
And they are. But
Wait, I forgot you're a New York guy. Are you actually a Jets fan?
I'm a Denver Bronco fan.
Oh,
That
okay.
was
How
kind
did
of
that happen?
that was a little different.
Well, you had to be. You're like
That was a
either
little
the
different.
Giants or you can't be a Jets fan.
I get flack for it all the time.
That's great.
Yes.
All right, so your shout outs one more time. Where's the best place for somebody to get a hold of you? Is it calling you or
Please
email?
just text me. I honestly just text me. Again, number is 516-603-0030. Just shoot me a text. I absolutely respond 100% to my texts. Sometimes I might miss the phone call, but I'll see the text. I'll get back to you within 24 hours.
Yeah, of
All
course,
right.
that's great.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very again for coming in, Ron. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
I appreciate it.
And Happy New Year, by
Happy
the
New
way.
Year to you
Yes,
both.
yes.
Thank
All
you.
righty.
Thank you.
Okay, Ron Perry, Westpac Wealth Partners. And we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to switch gears and hopefully reach our buddy Quentin Campbell, east of the Mississippi. Southern Nevada Sports News coming to you from WWDBTV.com. We'll be right back.
The golf store you've been waiting for is now open. Bob Allen Golf is ready to help you take your game to the next level. Bob Allen Golf is located at 6415 South Fort Apache, Las Vegas 89148. Choose your favorite clubs from our selection of Bridgestone, Callaway, Cleveland, XXIO, Srixon, Ping, Wilson, and more. We'll custom fit them in our state-of-the-art full-swing golf simulator. Come hang out with us and practice on our putting green to find out which club is perfect for you. Have your clubs repaired, reshafted, and regripped in our on-site tour shop. And talk about accessories. Guys and gals will feel comfortable and look sharp in the many sizes, colors, and options of apparel from Greg Norman, Black Clover, Under Armour, and more. The team at Bob Allen Golf takes your game as seriously as you do. Join our online family at boballengolf.com and stop in the store to meet us. Remember, at Bob Allen Golf, your game is in the bag.
Booyah! We are back. Round two. Southern Nevada Sports News coming to you from WWDBTV.com. My name is Bill Miller, and I am still co-host, along with
Jeff Belknap.
and with us on the line, our man, east of the Mississippi himself, Quentin Campbell. Quentin, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fine, guys. How you doing? Happy New Year to you.
And a happy New Year to you too, man.
All right. Well, sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah, so let's let's get right to it. Let's start with kind of recapping the recent bowl activity.
All right.
Yeah. My man Jeff here had something I think he wanted to
Well, he already
stat
knows-
that he
already
knows.
what I'm gonna say.
I'm pretty sure. I'm waiting on it.
Okay.
Come on, Jeff. I'm ready, buddy. Come on, buddy.
So, well, I mean, obviously we've talked about the conferences and talked about who's the good, who's the bad. So, surprisingly, we'll first start with the ACC.
Oh, yeah.
The ACC is actually 5-5 right now. Probably
Right.
two of those games they should have lost. I mean, the Wake Forest game was absolutely devastating for people that took Memphis, like myself. So, I mean, I'll just recap it if anyone doesn't catch it. First of all, I had the over 71 points. They score 52 points in the first half. They go all the way down. Memphis goes for 2 at one point in the game, doesn't get it. I would have won right there. The game lands on 71. But it was what happened at the end of the game that was devastating. Memphis has the ball. For some reason, Wake Forest scores a quick touchdown, which got the game close. And Memphis, the kicker for Wake, squib kicks it. And I'm like, why did he squib kick it? But that's good for me because we only need a field goal to tie the game, right?
Right.
They also get my over. So they get the ball, first play, 44-yard pass. They get the ball on the 12-yard line, first and goal, under a minute to go. They they run the ball first on first down, which I was okay with because Memphis is a running team. But then they throw the ball in the end zone a couple of times, don't get it. Line up to kick the field goal on fourth down. The guy buries it right down the middle, but Wake had called timeout. So they're like, okay, they got to redo it and everything. So this time, they snap the ball. Guy kicks it again right down the middle. False start in Memphis. Right? So I'm like,
can't
you gotta
write
be
this
freaking
stuff.
kidding me, right? So they back it up 5 yards, and then we all know what happens.
Yeah.
The guy misses the field goal.
Oh yeah.
So, but that was one of ACC's wins. So anyways, let's move on from there.
All right.
So we have the Big Ten, who really the Michigan team that didn't even show up. I mean, they were missing 3 players on defense. And what I noticed that Florida did was exactly what Ohio State did, was pick on the one cornerback.
Yeah.
And they butchered this guy the exact same way that Ohio State did it. They took it exactly out of the playbook. Michigan wasn't prepared for it, didn't make any changes. That's what happened. Purdue, Michigan State, Penn State, who all played a good game. Big Ten, 5-4. But let's go down a little bit further because we have to talk about this, the best conference ever. Southeast Conference, 6-5. Explain. Quinn, please.
Okay, explain 6-5. Okay, so my question is why come, what was Michigan problem? Why come they didn't show up?
I have no idea, honestly. Well, the fact that they had 3 guys sitting out on defense and then their main running back was out, probably should have gave me a red flag, which was one of the reasons why I didn't bet the game. But Vegas took a huge hit on that game because that game was opened at 7. I think it went off at 4. I mean, everybody and their mother took Florida in that game. So I was a little surprised. I don't think Florida's that good of a team. I was a little surprised that they won, but.
All right. Well, just like it's probably kind of the same situation with the Georgia-Texas game. They have, I know 1 or 2 guys for sure. One of their main studs sit out that game because everybody is beginning to sit out bowl games now that doesn't have any use for it anymore because the SEC and Fromm, excuse me, for Georgia, Fromm, he said it out loud that after the Bama loss, their team just wasn't in it anymore, you know. So I guess, to me, it looks like they tried. I don't know, but it's kind of rough. But at the end of the day, Mr. Jeff, the SEC has the most wins in bowl games.
Well, I mean, when you're invited the whole conference got invited to a bowl game. I mean, come on. I mean, by percentage, like, was there a team that wasn't it? There was 11 games.
But
11 teams went to bowl games.
But there were a couple of losses by SEC teams that were just expected to win. I think most people had picked Mississippi State over Iowa.
Oh man, yeah.
And Georgia.
Well, finally, Iowa finally done something. Couple years, we just been manhandling them guys, but they finally done something this year. I'm proud of them.
Oh yeah, and and Georgia as well. I think most people expected, but there were some, obviously some victories that by teams that you kind of expect, and they obviously I think the big surprise was Kentucky, and hats off. This is their first 10-win season. I think somebody said in like 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
And the first time that they beat Florida in 30-something years.
Yes, just the low 80s. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I mean, so this has been, but again, when you have literally 10 teams in bowls. 11.
Yeah.
Okay, 11 teams in bowls. Your odds are
that you're going to win the
11 out of 14.
You're going to come out at least ahead. Now, and of course the one coming up. I mean, so they have a chance of finishing what?
6-6.
6-6.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see 75. Well, but I got one question, guys. Vanderbilt played Baylor, and Vanderbilt put up 38 points on Baylor.
Yep.
And I'm over here sitting like, Vanderbilt put up 38. So what kind of conference is Big 12 if Vanderbilt's putting up 38?
No, I don't have any. I've never even said the Big 12 is a good conference.
Run and shoot. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, look, it's like the defenses are playing with 10 men. I mean, it's literally just like video games. They're running up and down the field, and the goal is, I hope I can outscore you, and if necessary, we're going to overtime, and it'll be 60 to 58 or something like that.
Okay, that leads to my point right there with the Alabama versus Oklahoma game. I mean, it was 26-0, just like that.
Yeah.
And so Bama, they just was in cruise control the rest of the game pretty much, and then until they finally made it a game at the end. But Bama knew they had it, and plus Quentin Williams at that press conference, he was about ready to say something about Kyler Murray, but he caught himself. But did y'all see that where he was about to say something? He's overrated. Did y'all see that?
Oh no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, Quentin Williams, defensive lineman, he's top 10 draft pick all day long for Alabama. He was about ready to say, Kyler Murray, he's good and everything, but I don't think he's all. And then he stops and paused. And then the guy asked him, what were you about to say? He said, no, I'm good. I'm not going to say anything. I'm good.
Well, I mean, it's if you look at the score, it really wasn't as close as it sounds.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, 45-34. I mean, it really was all Alabama. I think the biggest disappointment of all was Notre Dame. I mean, it just goes to show you that unless they move to a power conference where they're going to get competition every week, not just service academies and the Sisters of Mercy. They really do need, because they go in undefeated and they just get manhandled by Clemson. And
guys, people, I kid you not, guys. People down here was like, Notre Dame don't even deserve to be here. They almost got beat. They should have been beat by Vanderbilt. That's the one problem right there. That's people down in this area knew, like, Vanderbilt almost beat you. I mean, y'all are done.
Yeah. And once again, it's another poor bowl showing, by a supposedly strong Notre. If Notre Dame has one loss and they're not in there, then it's like people go nuts. Oh, they should be there. Yeah. And here again, they're undefeated, and they show up and they just get worked. And it's like that's just a spot that clearly a better team should have had. But then again, it also just goes to show you need 8 teams. Yep. Period.
You need 8. Yes,
because hats off to UCF for really pushing LSU. They represented well. I mean, okay, they're 24-1 now in the last 2 years. Not bad. Not bad at all. So it's here. I think that the excuses of why they don't have 8 teams are absolutely ludicrous, because D2, D3, these teams are playing 16 games a year, 15, 16 games a year, and their kids are graduating.
Yep.
Exactly.
So, and it's not like people are going to, well, if we have an extra game, nobody's going to show up. I'm calling BS on that. It just means more money for the networks, more money for the schools. So again, I don't know what the whole thing is just BS. And hats off to the president or the CEO of the Big Ten for coming out and saying we should have 8 teams, because apparently he's a heavy hitter, and apparently an opinion that people actually do, an opinion that matters. And, I think this has to do, honestly, with the SEC commissioner and the ACC commissioner. And I think that these guys have figured out that, our 2 teams from our conferences are going to probably be best represented in the finals. And, to hell with the rest of you.
Hey, guys, my question is, how much longer is this current contract? How much longer do we have for that current contract for 4 teams?
I don't know. I think that may be at least 2 years. It's got to be. I think if there was a unanimous decision to do it in the off season, I think it would still take 2 years to implement, because they just drag their damn feet.
Yeah, I think that they did say that it was
2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, why? Because it is. You know, there's no listen. You could any one of these cities that currently host a major bowl would be happy to say, yeah, sure, one more week we can do that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like they got to say, oh, gee, no. Well, the Rose Bowl. Well, we got a soccer tournament coming in the next week. Bullshit. You know, it can happen. You only need one. You only need one.
Well,
and
the thing about it is Ohio State would have been one of those teams, and Ohio State could give Clemson and Alabama a run.
yes,
You know, I don't know if they could beat either team, but they could play a competitive game with them. So I think I think everybody needs it. Everyone knows that it needs it. That's definitely going to happen. But I do want to talk about the line in this particular game. So the line in this game is Clemson plus 6 points, over and under 59, which ironically was the exact same line when I took Clemson money line a couple of years ago against Alabama, and they beat them 35-31 in a game that was like super exciting. I don't know if you ended up catching that.
it was one of the best games going back to Texas USC.
Yeah.
You know, several years ago with old Vince and
Vince Young.
yeah.
Yep. Well, I don't want to talk about Vince in the Rose Bowl because that mug. I went to the Michigan game when Michigan had a chance to win the national championship, and Vince beat us. Diving that little walk in. I still see it in my head. I was actually in that end zone watching him run. I was like, please tackle this guy for once. Then of course he went to Quinn's team to play. So speaking of your team, okay, so that game on Sunday night really came down to the Colts in Tennessee.
Oh, boy.
And, man, I want to tell you, man, I was really rooting for you. I was upset. My wife will tell you, man. She's like, who are you rooting for? I'm like, I'm rooting for Tennessee. And she's like, why? And I'm like, I don't know, but I just want Tennessee to win.
I don't know.
But I can tell you this, that, like, the Colts looked really good. And their defense played well. They had to cut that interception at the end of the game. You had a tough – with Blake Gabbert, you were already in a tough situation, but that interception at the end of the game just killed it.
Well, you know, I mean, come on, Blaine Gabbert and, you know, playoffs and moving ahead are just not going to be mentioned in the same sentence. You know, I think had Marcus been in there, I think it would have been a much different outcome. You know, he's clearly a much better quarterback.
But my voice, I'm still a little hoarse from that game because I went to that game and I've been screwing
Oh,
my
wow.
lungs out. So I'm still kind of hurting from that in more ways than one, obviously. and again, of course, we all know about the Mariota injury. And have y'all ever heard of an ulnar nerve before?
No.
Okay, it's basically an ulnar nerve in the elbow. And he hit it once before when he played the organ. Like it's a direct hit on the elbow, and your nervous system, and it just shuts down that area.
Wow.
You can't get any feeling in it. And it's just like, say, when you go to sleep at nighttime, you lay down in bed, and your arm goes numb. Try to immediately throw a football in that type of situation.
Yeah.
You can't do it. It's just like all your feeling is gone. And one of the best spinal specialists in California advised him to sit out that game because he is likely risking a lifetime injury and he can't play football anymore.
Well, it's a good thing that it's a good thing that Mike Shanahan wasn't his coach, or he'd been back out there.
Right. And a couple more tidbits on that game, guys. Like I said, I was there. It was an electric atmosphere. We ain't had that in a long time. And our coach, man, Mike Vrabel, he had a lot to overcome through adversity in his first year. He played in the longest game in NFL history in Miami, which was over 7 hours. Week 3, you had the starting wide receiver, Rashard Matthews, quit on you. Then in the first Colts game, your defensive coordinator got hospitalized in the first quarter.
Oh, God.
And then that last game against the Colts, you had 8 starters on IR, including Matthews, so that's 9 total that missed that game. And we had the 4th hardest schedule in the NFL. So with all that being said, we ended up 9-7. And do y'all know the only division in NFL who had 3 winning teams in it?
Well, you know what? And considering it was a division that everybody had Jacksonville pegged to win.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but you're right. I think if Jacksonville had played up to just a mediocre season, you would have had 4 winning teams in that division.
Yeah, that would have been tough.
And guys, I'm telling you, in these points down here, we don't fear Jacksonville at all. I mean, you know, because of Blake Bortles. I mean, Blake Bortles is just that terrible. He's just garbage. You know.
Okay, so So we only got a couple more minutes. So we got some long. I want you to give me a long shot that you think might have a chance here. So I'm going to throw a couple out to you, and you tell me which one you like the best. We got the Chargers at 18-1. We have Baltimore at 20-1. Now I'm not saying that this is the team that's going to win. I'm asking you which one of these teams you think has the best shot. Seattle, which everybody's afraid to play.
Ravens, because that Ravens defense is just, they're on fire.
Who's that?
And plus, the quarterback is helping them a lot, too. That's my pick.
Who is it?
The Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, Baltimore Ravens. Okay. So, wait, I got a couple more. Okay. So, you got the Seattle at 30-1, which I don't think anyone wants to play. Dallas at 31. Forget I even said that. There's no shot there. Tennessee at
Tennessee.
Tennessee's
Well,
not
don't
in
put
here.
any money on Tennessee.
There you go.
There's a disclaimer there.
They got the Colts at 30-1. Colts at 30-1. Let that sink in. I mean, that's got to be like a typo.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about the hottest team in the league going in, and then the last one is Philly at 80-1. I missed Tennessee. I mean, the Texans are 25-1. Give me two of those. Give me AFC and an NFC. Long shot.
The AFC, man, the coach is on fire, guys. Coach for me, and the long shot, probably NFC Seahawks, in my opinion.
I like those, man. Both
Yeah,
30
I do too. I do too, because I think, well, you know, Dallas is going to maintain their tradition of not winning a playoff game.
Cannot wait till they lose.
So,
Right.
you know, Seattle they're already, you know, packing for their next road game. But I like those picks, Quentin. I really do.
Thank you.
We,
Thank you.
you know, I really appreciate you taking the time. You know, I'm sorry we only had a short time to touch bases with you, but I know that you're looking forward to this Saturday and Sunday, the wild card matchups. And we will continue this conversation and see how we do next week, brother.
All right, sounds good. I'm not going to watch the Colts Texas game. I'm a little.
Yeah, I don't blame you there.
That's great.
And neither is Blaine Galbert.
Oh, my goodness. I'm so ready to get rid of him. It's not even funny. But he did do okay, though. But anyway.
Oh, he's a journeyman. All right, man. You take care of yourself.
All right, thank you guys again. Happy New Year, and talk to y'all later.
Happy New Year, brother.
Talk to you soon.
All right, our man Quentin Campbell, east of the Mississippi, realtor extraordinaire and former Vegas King football player.
Yep.
Once again, the hour has blown by. I'd like to thank Ron Perry of Westpac Wealth Partners, and he can be reached at his cell phone, 516-603-0030. Never too early and never too late to start managing your wealth. Join us next Wednesday. It'll be January 9th.
9th, yeah.
6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and by then we'll have obviously a new national champion for college football, and we'll also know who's moving along in the pros. Clemson, money line. I actually put $10 on it.
Oh, beautiful.
Have a great week. Thanks once again for joining us. It's Southern Nevada Sports News at WWDB TV. Have a good one.
God bless.